Hello, everybody. So there seems to be some confusion as to my position on COVID-19 and how I'm covering it. Now, as I've said in the past, if people want to attack me or insult me, that's fine. I'm not saying people are in this case. I'm just saying as a general rule. But I'd rather people do that for an opinion I actually hold or for something I was trying to do and not for a misconception. That, and I think if people have legitimate criticisms or legitimate concerns, I should try to address them if I think they're made in good faith. I'm sorry if this comes across as being passive aggressive or anything. Just, I know a lot of people who normally are supportive of me were kind of questioning what I was doing. So the first thing is, I'm going to come out and say it, I don't agree with 100% of everything I put up on my channel. Part of, and I've been saying this since the beginning, is I don't have answers to everything. Part of why I started this channel in the first place is I'm working through this stuff like you guys are. I don't pretend to have all the answers. My views have changed a lot since I started the channel, and they continue to evolve based on kind of new information and that sort of thing. So sometimes I'm speculating, sometimes I'm exploring the other point of view. I think it's very important to be able to look at different points of view. Even if you're not necessarily sympathetic to that point of view, I think it's important to know where your opponents or your allies are coming from to have more of a complete worldview. And I think it's important to self-reflect and go, maybe I could be wrong in this case. Because that's one of the issues I have a lot with kind of the mainstream left, is they lack any ability for self-reflection. So I thought I had stated at the front of my "Is the disease worse than the cure" video that this was speculation on my part and I was just looking at a different point of view, and I don't necessarily agree with the conclusions reached. Now, a lot of what I said in the video I think logically makes sense, but that doesn't necessarily mean I think we shouldn't have a lockdown. I'm just saying this is another way of looking at the situation. This is why somebody might think this. This is why they probably are a rational actor. That's really all I meant by it. I wasn't expressing my... I was maybe expressing my opinion on the validity of some of their arguments and whether they made sense, but I wasn't specifically saying what our response to this should be. So that being said, let's just go through some of the comments. So the first comment, ComputerWorm42, Argent on March 23rd, we're overreacting, the cure is worse than the disease, think about the economy. I just covered that. I was just looking at it from a different point of view. Argent on May 25th, Trump's downplaying the crisis. How could he possibly think about the economy at a time like this? He has blood on his hands. Now, as I've said, and I'll just restate it, my issue with Trump's response to this is I think he's sending massively mixed messages, and maybe I'll do another video looking at his Twitter, but he goes back and forth between we need a lockdown, we need to shut everything down, and we're going to open everything up again by Easter. Like, he did a recent tweet where he said the media wants me to end the lockdown, and that's like a fake news thing. But then he's like, the media wants me to stop the lockdown. So that's more my criticism of Trump. I just wish he would pick a response and stick to one. And people are saying, well, it's hard to get the states to agree on something. But I haven't really, maybe I'm like missing something, but I haven't really seen him try, like at any kind of length. And I think the way he's handling this with him continue, and I know I keep harping on the Twitter thing, but you're having the biggest national emergency since the financial crisis or 9/11, and you're on Twitter talking about fake news and doing sarcastic comments about how you wish Romney had COVID-19. And I think it's beneath the dignity as a head of state, and I think it shows you're just not serious about the crisis, and it sets a really bad example. Let's see here. I see your logic in either doing one or the other, though I don't think that's possible in our system of government. That's fair enough. Even if you did, you were wrong if that's the case. Let's just move on for it. I'm just correcting this. Let's see here. I'm just going to skip this one. This one's pretty long. Just as kind of um, a general comment on the whole thing, a couple people thought I was praising the Democrats or I was shilling for the Communist Party. I had to take it down, but I had like a 120-part series making fun of the Communist Party for its corruption and incompetence. And I've been very critical about how China handled this whole crisis, how they covered it up, how they let this kind of get out of hand. And I've been very critical of them, and I don't believe for a second, and I did a video attacking the Democrats over this. The Democrats would do a much worse job. Bernie or Biden would do a much, much worse job than Trump is doing. So, because I'm being critical of Trump and saying he does a bad job, that doesn't mean I don't think the Democrats would be a lot worse. Let's see here. Let's see. Every complaint you had fits to any other Western government. That's not true. Here in Germany, we also face a rapid shortage of masks. Hand disinfectant and tests were nowhere to find. Which country acted different better? Canada honestly has. Canada took a long time, but I think we're actually doing a really good job. The masks don't do jack shit against the corona spread, but they have a use in everyday nursery. Many private healthcare workers had serious issues getting their utilities. Regarding the bailout, you should be praising Pelosi then, because she just obfuscated the vote again. I don't know why I'd be praising Pelosi. The Democrats are horrible. The rescue funds are supposed to help lower income families where people just lost their jobs. From my understanding, and from like people like SERP I've talked to who follow this stuff closer than me, most of the funds raised goes to lobbying. Trump has a country of 320 million people. Your comparison with one of the most irrelevant states on earth with a population that's only a fraction, very low population density, is ridiculous. Yeah, but like, I haven't seen like a concerted effort to really try. Once again, when you go on Twitter, and I know I got to keep bringing the Twitter thing up because it's and you do that, that conveys the impression you're not serious and you're not taking this seriously. If you have time to do these snarky comments. Argent, what is this rant about? Could you please decide whether you are favoring either a republic or a global state? I'm not really sure what he means. I think he means either a federal or unitary system, because your knee-jerk bitching about the difference in opinion about a curfew is exactly what one would expect in a republic where each state has its say. You know, the principle we are supposed to be for. Now, I'm kind of don't have a strong position on unitary versus decentralization. I've never really been that keen on devolved local power, because municipalities can be just as oppressive, if not more so, than a federal government. I think it's very much depends upon the country. Some countries work better with centralized systems, particularly smaller ones. Some countries work better with more decentralized systems, like Canada works pretty well. I think Canada has a decent balance. The US is really weird, and we can talk about that some other time. Like I know with Denmark's interesting because it doesn't have states, but municipalities have quite a bit. There's like regional municipalities that have quite a bit of power, which is an interesting kind of compromise. I think it kind of makes sense given the size of Denmark and just how the population is distributed. So I think it depends a lot on the size of the country, ethnic diversity, that sort of thing. I think a smaller, more homogenous country should probably have a more centralized political system. Don't get me started talking about the obstruction by the Democrats who basically derailed the Trump administration with their fraudulent impeachment. This video has me shocked. Let's see here. Serp says amen. Trump has been a failure in every single issue. I think the government didn't take seriously enough anywhere in the world except for Japan, Taiwan, and South Korea. Let's see here. However, the US seems crippled with hyper-partisan bullshit. That's true. The UK and Canada have put measures in place and are supporting the people. They're mobilizing all resources they can to save lives and get this mess under control. Once again, I hate Trudeau. I think I've called him the C-grade Antichrist. But at least from a PR perspective, he's doing a really good job in this crisis. If Trump was the leader, he would have leveled with the nation and told both parties to shut their fucking holes and get on with what they've been entrusted to win, or entrusted with the protection, health, and well-being of the American people. I used to think the UK is just as bad. Let's see here. Of course, shift the blame to Trump. You wouldn't want to hurt the feelings of the Chinese Communist Party. I've been extremely harsh on them in the past. Derelict signal. I'm sorry, this is just kind of too long to go through. I'm just going to say I'm not a distributist or a libertarian. I tend to be more of a statist than a lot of people in these circles. Let's see here. The issue is, at least in American politics, our politicians would rather the American people die to keep the stock markets doing good, did actually help out the working class and keep them safe. We don't have any proper security precautions set in place. We don't have enough supplies. We don't have anything. Really, they refuse to give us consistent pay to keep us safe. Let's see here. Actually, I'm sorry, Crash Bandicoot. I'm not really sure where you're going with that one. I can't tell if he's agreeing with me or not. Let's see here. Virus isn't going fast enough to even be considered a happening. A stock market is shooting up. We're all getting Trump bucks, and new infections are decreasing every day. This is the best a president could have handled something like this. Trump has based Dow for 40,000 plus. I'm pretty sure that, like, that's not the case. Let me just look this up. Give me a second. I don't think that's the case. It looks like it's, like, pretty consistently going up. In New York, it's exploding, so I don't really think that's the truth. Let's see here. You have to consider the political plausibility of what you propose. A few million deaths mean nothing to the bottom line of government, Trump, or any relevant interest. The lockdown is absolutely genius political maneuvering, which is why most governments did the same. Like, that's, once again, my issue isn't that there's a lockdown or not a lockdown, is I think it could go, like, either way. Trump isn't really in charge. They just bring to a Trump. I do wish we actually had a president that cared enough to get involved themselves in the crisis. The boomer remover must do a job. Let's see here. I'm not gonna go through all that. I think I've addressed that. Still more deaths from the flu than COVID. First. Yep, I think that kind of addresses it. Hopefully that kind of clarified my position a bit. Maybe just before we end, I'm going to go to Twitter and we'll take a look at Trump's tweets. Okay, so here's like something I said. The lamestream media is the dominant force in trying to get me to keep our country closed for as long as possible in the hope that it will be detrimental to my electoral success. The real people want to get back to work ASAP. We will be stronger than ever before. I mean, that kind of seems like a mixed message to me. I think he's also said we want to end the lockdown in time for Easter. Like, what is that about? Let's see here. The 4 hospitals. America's done more testing than any other country. I think that's mainly Cuomo. Let's see here. Just trying to find that, let's see here. Mitt Romney tests negative for coronavirus. This is really great news. I am so happy I can barely speak. He may have been a terrible presidential candidate and an even worse U.S. senator, but he is a rhino and I like him a lot. Like, once again, should he really be tweeting like this in a time of crisis? So let's go down and look at some more of this. Well, like half his Twitter feed is just Breitbart retweets. Let's see here. President Trump's decision to very early on restrict travel from China saved tens of thousands of lives. But didn't he say like they want to keep the country closed as long as possible? Like, let's see here. Our people want to return to work. They will practice social distancing and all else, and seniors will be watched over protectively and lovingly. We can do two things at once. We can do two things at once. Congress must act now. We will come back strong. It's kind of mixed messaging here. Let's see here. I'm just going through this. We cannot let the cure be worse than the problem itself. At the end of the 15-day period, we'll make a decision as to which way we want to go. So, like, I don't know. That's my opinion on it. You can like it or hate it. Yeah, so God bless. And I'll talk to you guys later.